How are you recovering from Stranger Things, Dan?
My butt doesn't hurt as bad as yours does, but I'm here
What?
safely behind my conformity gate.
All right, you guys ready to get into this thing?
Let's do it.
Let's get in.
Hot dog, welcome to this episode of the Prestige-ish Media Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lake, and with me is Tom Chan and Dan McNair. How are you guys doing tonight?
How's everybody else?
Dan, are you better than Peachy this week? What's the
I am
status?
officially okie dokie.
Okay, I think that's fair. And
Feeling
I
okey doke?
I am here so I don't get fined as the host. Fallout Season 2, Episode 4, The Demon in the Snow. Isn't that what you call when you pee in the snow, Dan? I thought maybe that was your name for that.
Growing up in the desert, you really don't know how that works, apparently. Just don't eat it. Don't eat
Oh,
yellow sand, Craig.
it was semen in the snow was your big bit. I forgot, not demon in the snow. Initial thoughts and rating on this episode, Tom.
Rating, I would say 9. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Ooh,
Okay. Dan, in between shots of Michelob Ultra, can you throw a rating or some initial thoughts our way? Oh, it's a
it's my strawberry Dr. Pepper Zero, sir. It might not be a sarsaparilla, but we get by with what we can.
Living on the wild.
Last week really restored my faith for me. I liked that episode last week a little bit more than this one, but this was action-packed, and even the areas where I'm not tracking with the characters so well didn't seem as weak as they had in the first episode or two. So I give it a 7.9.
Okay, I'm right at 7.98. I had 8. I just switched it to 7.9 as you were talking. I mean, I'm right on that edge. I might even give it a prestigious first for me. I'm going to give it a 7.95. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. This one, the last two have been very good. I do agree. I think I like last one slightly more, but the good news about this one too is it was the shortest episode of the season. So I like that. And I think this is about the right length of an episode for this show to keep you wanting more. You can drag it out more if it's a really good episode, but if it's a stinker, I don't want to be here longer than, 45 minutes or so. But yeah, I thought this was pretty good. Let's jump into it and then we'll kind of see specifically what made it a 9 for you, Tom. I'm guessing some of the game references had something to do with it. So we start on the Alaskan front, which is where Cooper was at war of sorts. And we didn't really know a lot about that. And before the episode, there was a kind of flashback to when he was complaining to that one guy about the T-45 armor at that party, and he lost a lot of good men to that. And we've seen the other armor in the show so far. And like last season, it kind of set up for him to mess with Henry McClane's suit because he knew about the suit. But I don't think we knew how crappy the suits were until, you see it in a battlefield and see how bad it was working for them. He sent Charlie away with his equipment malfunction. He was supposed to be searching for Raider 3. He comes across, I thought they said red commies in the beginning of the episode or something, but just, I assume Chinese because they're speaking Mandarin. They said, "Wow, buddy, what did they put you in? The future is here. I'm serious." And they said something like, "We'll have to wear this one day and we'll have to tell them okie dokie." And I didn't know if we had the mind flare in the background or what was going on, but we get our first introduction to, are they called Death Claw, Death Clawers? What's the proper way to say them, Tom?
Death claws.
Death Claws. Okay. I'm assuming this was a good intro for you. What did you think of it, Tom?
Yeah, like I said, I gave it a 9. And like you alluded to, it's pretty much more of the game fan service. The death claws looked fucking awesome. You run into them a lot in the game while you're traversing through the wasteland in New Vegas. I didn't know much about the Alaska War. I guess it's a big part of the Fallout lore, but I don't know too much about it. But I guess it is a big part of the game, but I have no clue about the history of it.
Yeah, and I'm assuming some of that's what he was talking about with the lighter thing, or like getting the lighter from Charlie from
Yeah,
rescuing them.
I'm
So
not
they
sure if
have
that was.
some war tales from
Yeah,
that. Dan, your thoughts on the open there?
So I did like it harkening back to the scene that you were referencing because I remember that from last season. I remember Cooper saying something very specifically. We almost lost the great state of Alaska to the Reds.
Okay.
So seeing this flashback here was a good box check. I don't know about Tom, but I've been anticipating the Death Claw all season. I didn't play the game, but I do remember one of the final scenes as we see Hank running off towards New Vegas was there was like a Death Claw skeleton that we saw, I think, in the closing credits of season one. Like this has been one of those things that I've been waiting for a little bit. So seeing it here in the open, I was definitely expecting it to foreshadow for later in the episode.
From my side in Fallout Shelter, it's every, I don't know, however many minutes one comes in and just
Oh
wreck
yeah, I
shop
remember.
in your
Yeah,
shelter. So
yeah.
that's the only way I know them for. And I don't know if I was as deep into the lore last time when we were covering the show to know what the skeleton was at that time or register it. But definitely recognized him here. Maybe a little Balrog-esque as well, but definitely looked pretty good.
Lord of the Rings, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Greg is always into number one, length, number two, ball rogs.
Balrog.
I'm not the
Okay.
girth queen that Dan is, though.
He's more
I thought you
about
were
length.
talking about
Here,
Street Fighter. I was like, what?
No, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
We get back to Thaddeus and Maximus is being tracked. And so he needs Thaddeus to put on the armor and pass as a passable Xander, which is going to be impossible for this dipshit. Thaddeus made a turn for you last episode, Dan. This episode, how did he do for you?
I think he's keeping it alive. I think I can get by with this, Thaddeus. Maybe it's just that vault dwellers and other people have lifted his tide. But I think Ghoul Thaddeus is 20 times better than Brotherhood Thaddeus.
And at the end, like when the best parts for me were not his nervous parts, but when he was pretending to be confident and he's, what's up, big boy? Let's get out of this shithole. I thought that was like his moment of the episode for sure. Tom, your thoughts on the Thaddeus and Maximus stuff?
Yeah, I thought that it was a big change to the tone of the show, I guess, with Thaddeus. I like him. But yeah, his the whole scene, like trying to act tough, was pretty good, pretty funny. And when he was talking with the elders, he was just saying, "Oh, you guys, you." Mm-hmm. But I was like, what the heck?
The some of the other funnier parts is like when he's saying the quiet part loud and the loud
Oh
part
yeah, he's like,
quiet.
"Keep
Like
yourself together" or something like that.
yeah, I think it maybe went a little too long in the second half of the episode, but the initial beats of it were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Lucy wakes up with some sort of gross IV in her. I was already kind of wondering what was going on. I wouldn't really trust any needles in the wasteland, but at least she's with the NCR. She asks what happened to most of the NCR, and they talk about her dad blowing up Sandy or Shady Sands where they all were. So we do get a past as past thing, I think, from the ghoul, which kind of leads to them not knowing specifically that it's Lucy's dad, but them asking Lucy like what she would do if she gets this person she's looking for, which she says bring him to justice. Kind of interesting. She gets more ammo, which is cool. Apparently, she gets hooked on drugs. I guess we haven't really mentioned the old guy that I'm going to bring my Simpsons reference of the episode out was like throwing a squirrel down his pants for gambling purposes, it seemed. But like it's been an odd few episodes with that old guy and the squirrel. Thoughts on the California or the new California Republic as we find them and Lucy, Dan?
They seem a little bit more legitimate and nice than I'm expecting anybody to be in the Wastelands, the way that this show has gone so far. I don't know that I necessarily have anything against the NCR, but I mean, it's been hard to trust strangers that you meet along the way in this show, whether it's the whimsical sideshow salesman or whatever matching jacket person that they come across. So it was actually nice to see somebody that, at least at this point, wasn't trying to take advantage of them.
Yeah, I think the leader of the NCR seems to be a pretty reputable person. I'm not sure about the squirrel diddler where he falls on the radar, but the other one's not bad. What did you think of all this, Tom?
That's the spirit of the NCR from the game. They're trying to save the world, pretty much. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely that's pretty much them carrying on the tradition. The whole scene with Lucy getting all drugged up and addicted, that was pretty much on par with the game. Buff out is obviously used a lot in the game, so that's pretty cool to see. In the background of that whole scene, it was the city of Prim. I think that's a real location, right?
Yeah, you can see the roller coaster that was
Yeah.
in the closing credits.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. That's a big part of the game, but pretty much this whole episode was a lot of fan service, so that's why I liked it a lot.
Dan, did you have something else on that?
I wanted to ask you, Craig, is Junkie Lucy hotter, less hot, or advantage push being our Lucy fan?
I go both ways because I think the best parts about her.
You'd go any way you could
uh,
with Lucy, but
I would, yeah. I'd follow her to the ends of the earth. But yeah, I think, the funny thing about her being a drug addict is the perkiness of her and the innocence of her being the drug addict. And I thought she did, Ella Purnell, as an actress, I thought she did a really good job. And we'll get into that a little bit closer when we get there. But she does mention that all she sees is more matching jackets. So it's kind of, I don't know at what point we get from her that she's not really wanting to join a group, but it seems like she kind of relates it to home, and then that transitions back to the vault scene. So I just thought in general that was like kind of a good segue to that. Go ahead.
oh, that's an interesting way to look at it because I took it from the ghouls line right at the beginning of the season where they're fighting those cons and he calls them like matching jacket motherfuckers or something like
And
that.
yeah,
So
she said all
that's
I
a neat
see.
different way to apply it.
Yeah, and maybe she meant it in that regard, but she said all I see is more matching jackets. But then we segue into the shelter. So I think there's probably some of that there too. Yeah, the snack club, someone's complaining about his uncle and aunt being related, and that's probably what's wrong with him. The water cooler's empty, which it's kind of a weird dynamic as they're rationing water, and this guy's just loading up the tubs of water. And apparently, the snack club is baked into the charter. And so he has standing over Betty. Any thoughts on this, Tom?
It's interesting. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it, but definitely in line with the other happenings with the other groups in the season so far. It seems like there might be a civil war in this vault with this therapy group leader seeming like to being the new overseer of that vault. It seems like that's where it might be going with him trying because he was mentioning like her was it her
Approval
score or
rating,
whatever
I think,
approval.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but definitely keeps it more interesting for people to be more attracted to what's going on in these vaults. But it's like one of the lowest, not so interesting parts of the season for me.
Yeah. Dan, what about you there?
I kind of agree with Tom with which the most I enjoyed about the scene was that it was brief. Like we just get a quick check-in, we don't hang out for a big chunk of the episode, and for that I was grateful.
Yeah, I like the stuff later with Zach Cherry more, and Stephanie, I think, has a good dynamic, more than just her eye socket. And but I think early on, the only thing I will say, Betty seemed to be kind of more sinister for most of the last, like, back half of last season and this part of the season. And then now she's trying to play like the nice card later, which we'll get there when we get there. But I just find that dichotomy a little weird with that character. So I couldn't tell at first, like, obviously not knowing that Lucy was drugged. I'm like, did they fill her with ghoul juice? Or, I didn't know what was going on with her. I could tell she was getting itchy and she was like, am I dying? And I'm like, oh no, don't turn her into a ghoul. But she was on the buff out, as Tom mentioned. And I did think it was funny that she was just like, okay, I'm off drugs now. And then, it wasn't exactly how it worked. And then her having to sort through her options and not wanting to wait to get to her dad and justifying it through give me the drugs, which is something an addict really would do, but it also was kind of true to the character and where they were in the story. What did you think of that portion, Dan?
As much as we're focused on Lucy and she is really at the center here, I enjoyed Ghoul's dialogue about the two trains of thought. And I think Walton Goggins is perfect in this role. Like, he's somebody that I've liked a lot, but just listening to his delivery and what he does with the dialogue, somebody else in that role, I wouldn't even enjoy the show. But so he really is a linchpin for me.
Yeah, I think you kind of need both of them to tango, and they're a good mix for they're almost both straight men and not. I mean, they play off each other well, and the dynamic is good. Tom, your thoughts there?
I like that part of the show. It kind of looks like that the ghoul is appreciating that Lucy is turning into the wasteland, so to speak. That's what it when she said, "Let's go shoot shit up," and he's that's the drugs talking. But I like what I'm hearing, so that was pretty neat. The whole scene was pretty cool as far as the game. You get to see the Kings, which are a group that's a bunch of Elvis impersonators. But it's kind of sad to see them all gold up like that because in the game you like help them out a lot. Uh,
Oh,
the last school that she shot, the one in the white jacket, I think that was the leader that you interact with a lot.
okay. So we get to the Dane part, and he's talking to, or I guess Maximus with Dane, and eventually Maximus just basically says he's going to kill Quintus. I was kind of surprised we got to this lead up so fast, and what we can get more into it when we get there, but we go from that to Buds raiding a food truck. One of the girls says she went over that bridge last week because she was frozen. He was like, pretty crazy week for you, I guess. And then we get Ronnie, the guy who took lunch orders. I'm not a big Ronnie fan early. What were your thoughts on Ronnie, Dan?
I've got questions for Tom here because it seemed like there was a pretty big Easter egg to the game from some of the chatter I saw because he mentions Future Enterprise Ventures or FEVs. But I think there's another FEV in the Fallout universe. Tom, can you enlighten me on that?
I don't know if it's been mentioned at all in the first season because I haven't watched it all, but they haven't touched on super mutants, which were, I think they were experiments of a vault, or it could have been the Enclave, maybe. But I think they were irradiated from a drug, maybe called FEV.
So it's
Yeah,
So,
kind
I
of,
saw where it stood for
and then,
Forced
yeah, and then they
Evolutionary
mentioned
Virus.
experiments a lot. Who knows what's going
And
on?
Ronnie talks about working under Bud Askins, who I guess worked for West Tech before he worked for Vault Tech. And so I guess, yeah, this virus could be a big deal. So I thought that was like an interesting Easter egg type deal.
Yeah,
uh,
and
go ahead.
super mutants haven't been mentioned so far, so I'm expecting them to show up at some point.
So we did get the return of Zach Cherry. I don't think we had seen him yet this season, but maybe we did in passing. I have to believe he's not long for this vault based on his success in Severance and other things. That's kind of my guess because it kind of seems like he's set up for bad choice road here. I did think it was kind of funny about him being confused with directions. And I did want to mention a call out to Stranger Things, Dan, when like Max is trying to tell Holly what she does when she gets up in the upside down. And I was just like picturing her stumbling around like that other guy in Fallout that couldn't figure out which direction to go or whatever.
Davy, and then Zach's character runs straight into Davy, and they talk about how much they hate Vault 32.
Yeah, he ended up in the men's room, he called it. We get that big kind of confrontation that I previously mentioned between Steph and Betty. She mentioned the other vault is empty and that Bud's upside down in a mop bucket. So I think I kind of forgot that, and they don't play the brain that way, but I guess that is Bud. I kind of forget that. They kind of discuss through their options. Betty's asking for water, and she says that'll interfere with the work she's doing, which is mainly staying alive. She asked for some sort of keepsake box. Like, I'm assuming she's got like a key. Did you ever see the escape room version of Always Sunny, Tom?
The episode,
Yeah, where
yeah,
where one
where
half has the key and the other half has the box, but
oh
they tell each other for the whole episode. I was kind of I was kind of getting those vibes from it. What did you make of this, Dan?
I think that this keepsake box is going to be something pivotal. I don't know what it is or what Hank could have hiding in there, but that to me, that's the only reason we're seeing all this Vault 32, 33 stuff.
I mean, I think we are going to get kind of what Tom mentioned is like a culling of the herd and to manage the water shortage. Stephanie definitely seems like the worst of this bunch, so how long she can stay in, but I'm more interested in her part than just about anything on this side of the world that we've got left for multiple reasons. Tom, what did you make of all this?
yeah, I thought Stephanie's part is going to be interesting. I'm not sure how she was at the end of the first season. Was she always
She kind of turned heel like right at the
okay?
end. So I
Okay.
think everybody thought she was okay, and then she kind of went south. Is that how you remember it, Dan?
Yeah, you would see it definitely through the eyes of the cousin that married her, but she became very bossy and very bitchy in a heartbeat.
And then Betty
Well,
mentioned that she's been alive or unfrozen for 40 years.
yeah.
So 32, Betty's 32, I think, right? But whatever,
Uh,
it's like the vault's been alive for 30, 40 years. So you would figure that their water is going to be running low.
yeah, and I don't know any other factors that contributed or not, but like I said, I think it's something that probably led into last season with them killing one of the Volts already before they split Volts. There was probably possibly a resource issue already, but kind of weird that the other Volt is the one that has the resources, but I digress. But yeah, and Woody kind of overhears that, so that doesn't appear to be a good sign. We get a spyglass, Dan, in back-to-back shows. How about that? Not often you get a telescope in back-to-back TV shows. I didn't know, was that robot the Victor they already saw another type of Victor, or was that just a downed robot,
That's
Tom?
a down robot. That's like a Securiton that to run Vegas back in the day.
Okay, but it
Keep the
specifically
peace.
wasn't specifically Victor himself. It was just a different robot. To the point of some of what we talked about earlier, we had the ghoul kind of talking about going to the east side of town, the free side to kind of get some intel, and that's where Lucy kind of pushes forward. We get all the Dia de los Elvises, which Tom is calling the Kings. Lucy kind of does her best Leroy Jenkins and just starts, running into the battle. But she didn't need a lot of help, and her new firearms are powerful. She gets some Huey splatter at the end again, which I don't know that you want ghoul splatter. I don't know how ghouls transact their disease, but I wouldn't want ghoul splatter on
Just
me.
on splatter.
I did think it was funny when she gave the thumbs up at the end and just her both being an addict and Lucy working through this, and the fact that Ghoul didn't have to help her this time, that she was able to kind of get through this one with her, mommy's little helpers and, the new firearms. And then she asked for a cigarette afterwards. Thoughts on this, Dan?
And then he says one addiction at a time, which that was chef's kiss for me. But yeah, Lucy with a firearm boner. I'm sure you enjoyed that, but it was cool to see.
Tom, anything you want to add from what you kind of started mentioning earlier?
Yeah, it was cool. In addition to being addicted to the buff out, I'm sure that was like her first time shooting a leg off of anything. So she got the rush from that, I'm sure. And that pretty much combined with the buff out. That's why you saw her go John Wick.
Well, and you could see her kind of saying they're just ghouls, right? No big deal.
Then you see Coop when she started that. You see Coop like going,
Yeah. The song was Cocaine Blues playing when she was John Wicking, for whatever that's worth. There is a welcome to the strip sign. We see her with her shaky hand, and I kind of forget about her bad, like, dead finger she has sometimes, but that was prominent there. We move on. The Yosemite chapter, Dan's favorite chapter, is trying to kind of backdoor a deal with Thadius, and then the Coronado guy comes over. Thaddeus starts having like a panic attack. Dane escorts the children to a different room. Maybe some of that was set up with Maximus and his squire from earlier in the season. And yeah, I guess we can break this into the two parts. The Thaddeus and the Yosemite guys and their shootout, interesting, but I don't know it does a lot for me. The heretic and the Quintus of it all, if Maximus was actually going to kill Quintus, I think that would have been great. But unfortunately, Quintus is still alive. What did you make of this portion, Dan?
My takeaway is that the Brotherhood's kind of in shambles after this. It seems like there's uprisings and, little insurrections all over the place. But I'm curious what the Brotherhood is going to be after this because they're all basically like shooting each other up.
I know Dane gives you a something that rhymes with insurrection and always piques your interest.
Oh,
Tom, what
jeez, yes, that mustache. Yay.
Tom, I must ask you what you thought of this scene or these scenes.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was because when I played the games, I've always associated the Brotherhood with a military style. So it's interesting to see them turn into a bunch of raiders where they all just want to fuck each other up. But it was cool to see Maximus shooting a laser pistol. I don't think I've seen laser energy weapons being used in the season, so that was pretty neat to see. But it'll be interesting to see where Maximus and his companion Thaddeus go from here on out. Maybe they're going eastbound and down.
Probably. I did think like obviously the stuff that turned Maximus with Quintus when he started talking about the little ghouls as abominations. And, it seems like Maximus has a real soft spot for kids, I guess, is what we're learning. Coronado got knifed in the face. I did think it was kind of weird, like when Dane was going to take the fusion core, it looked like it might be Dane gone rogue, but she gives it to Maximus and kind of sends him on his way. Anything else from this portion?
Was it when Dane hid all the kids in the room? It seemed like the camera focused on one of the kids. Was that the squire that was working with Maximus or something?
I don't think it was, because I thought that one was more like fair skinned or blonde or something. This one seemed to be a different squire, but yeah, they did a weird scan on him and then a weird scan on Dane when she
maybe
stole.
they'll get him to hunt him down in the later season or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the new, Quintus has to groom someone.
Yeah.
Dan, any other thoughts from you there?
Just one thing that seems to be a theme is a couple times they've told us about how the Brotherhood is against abominations and the Maxon origin story of what the scientists were doing. Something that maybe Tom can help with is, so were death claws something that were man-made about? Are they abominations as well?
Yeah, they were an experiment. I think they combined, whoever did it, combined like several different animals that turned into that death claw. They made them, I think, to be part of the military. And then obviously
So
they
it's an
can't be
it will come to dairy type. We're gonna unleash the Pennywise on the Reds or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what you kind of saw, I think, at the beginning of the show. Maybe that was unleashed to.
Yeah,
It just seems like there's a lot of parallels as far as abominations and
the
stuff.
the only thing that was weird to me was they mentioned specifically, like, I thought around then, like radiation levels, and then I think again later here with them again, the radiation levels when she was talking about the giant chickens and she was playing with the skull. But I think even to the beginning of the episode, I thought something flashed around on the screen about radiation or something. So
And I was expecting a red scorpion, but then the death claw, of course.
Go ahead, Tom.
The military wouldn't have released the death claw because Coop got the message later saying, "Hey, the Reds are running away. Good job, guys."
Well, that could be a setup too, where they were just like, they didn't really care if the guys in suits died. They were just going to let the other thing loose. And, they obviously didn't care if they made it out.
That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, that could go either way. And we will probably find out more about that, I would think. What did you guys make of Woody reporting Steph's violation to Steph? I mean, seems like his death warrant here. And then Chet finds under like the sock drawer her old ID. It looks like maybe a United States terrorist annexed to Canada, I would think, but it was like her terrorist ID. I didn't know terrorists had IDs, but they do apparently. What did you make of this, Tom?
I didn't look into too much detail on the ID. I did saw Canada. They're the Canadians connect the case,
Yeah.
but yeah, that'll be an interesting dynamic for Steph to see where that leads.
Yeah, I think I'm curious. Chet has been a little one-dimensional for a bit here, so I don't really want to see Chet, but if we have to see him, hopefully it adds some dimension to his character. Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are blame Canada. I saw a funny little internet picture of Steph with a South Park wedge mouth.
Okay,
Oh,
that's
Really
nice.
pretty
good.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So
I couldn't tell she was Canadian. I almost think she was like an American who escaped to Canada as a terrorist, but I couldn't quite get it. But either way, it's funny. And so then we end up in really New Vegas on the strip. There's like that fake landmark. There's this thing with ladies on it called Gamora. They're just kind of dicking around. And then eventually, like, Lucy's obviously a little loose with her tongue here, like yelling for her dad and just not ideal. And then we get confronted. She thinks it's going to be an easy thing with whatever's behind this door, not knowing what it is. And you can kind of see the realization on the ghoul's face. And I think we get an okie dokie there at the end. Dan, your thoughts on the close there?
I thought it was good full circle. Maybe not as surprising an ending or something like that, but you can't do that every episode. This was pretty strong to me. It all just made a lot of sense. And from an action lord standpoint, like you mentioned, it was a shorter episode, but it felt also with as much that we saw that it went very quick. Yeah, I thought
That's
it was
what
a good
she
end.
said. Yeah, I thought also, maybe not surprising, but it makes me want to see what's going to happen in the next episode. I'm waiting for the next episode
Yeah.
after that. Tom, your thoughts on the close there?
I liked it. I loved it. Set design was pretty incredible with the showing the Gamora Casino, the Ultra Lux Casino, Lucky 38. So it was pretty neat to see that. The Deathclaw egg was pretty neat to see as well. That was a mission, I think, in Fallout 4, though, but it was pretty neat to see the Deathclaw egg, and then the whole full reveal of the Deathclaw was pretty awesome. But I want to see what's going to happen, how they're going to tackle that Deathclaw.
Dan,
You guys seen anything about the countdown clock?
I'm not really as into the lore as you've been on this show. I don't know where our algorithms are, but you're definitely in the
Well,
Fallout algorithm.
apparently, somewhere on Amazon, there's a countdown clock that corresponds to the last episode
Oh,
of the
I,
season. And there's
oh,
rumor
really?
that they think it might be like a remastered Fallout
I
3 or something coming out.
I thought
Tom,
I
can you
saw
help me
something
out?
about that. Yeah, I didn't read too much into it because there's been talk about wanting to remaster Fallout 3 and New Vegas for a long time, but I heard about the clock maybe being a something to announce either the remaster or maybe a Fallout 5. But I'd like to have a remaster of New Vegas or even Fallout 3 because back in the day on PlayStation 3 is what I had. The games would always crash when when you go deep into the game. So it'd be nice to play it again.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I didn't know about the countdown clock, so that's interesting. We'll see where all of this leads and see you guys next week. Same Deathclaw time, same Deathclaw channel.
Okie dokie.
Okie
Cool.
dokie.
I don't know. I'll see her tomorrow, so we'll see. I knew with her it was going to be her catching up on episodes was going to be the biggest challenge because once you get behind, it was the same thing with Z. It's once they get behind, getting them to catch up is like a whole adventure. But to be fair, Edelyn does have a full-time job and a baby, whereas Z just sits around all day and jerks it. Z can't even be bothered to shower.